PR Connections Radio presents. This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today.
Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Liberating Menopause. I am your host, Lisa Vasquez, and thank you, PRConnectionsRadio.com, for allowing this moment to happen. In this conversation, we are talking about that invisible system. Liberating Menopause is all about learning and preparedness and awareness and really showing you that there's so, again, I learned everything that I know is because of the women and the hormones that I was entangled with in the systems that I grew up in. But it wasn't that honestly, I really knew what it all meant then compared to what I know what it means now. But what I do want to bring to you, because you're in the best time of a woman's life, because we've already broke down the walls to go to work. We've already made stances and different things that we do as a woman. As they say, baby, we've come a long way, right? And we really have. And we're even, we're so far from where, what I started in. My journey through this in 1980, 81, I had a language that wasn't even processed yet. There's a mammography room that wasn't even used yet. It was there, but it wasn't popular at all. Not like today. I didn't have a schedule as crazy as what they're doing to text today because it was so silent. And again, the instrument wasn't as the awareness. I did meet a lot of women who had mastectomies that never even had a mammogram. So the whole conversation has been silent in that way. And I was able to gain voices throughout this history. And so, but always because I was around the women who were teaching me, whether they knew it or not, in their lifestyles, in their survivals and challenges and conversations of just questions that we had on a history sheet. And these are popular moments in a regular, if you would hang out at the bar with your friends or something and you brought out a history sheet and started asking, I bet you can create such a conversation that would just blow you away because you'd say, what? When did you get your period? You're kidding. How long? Or when did this happen? It would really blow you away. And my whole idea of these conversations is to bring it to you in that laxed way before it has to be given to you in a place where, oh gosh, you're so mentally stressed from it. The mindset has lost it. You're going through all these changes, and most women, we go through them, but we don't reach for help till almost 4 years later. Why that is, it's still a big study. There's so much. You just can't imagine to be on this ground floor, as I was back then with breast cancer, to elevate and watch education grow into forms, into paperwork, into books. My class for radiology, there were books, but when it came to mammography, this was all hands-on training. I was taking a test that there was no books for yet. The books came out afterwards when we did that first test. And it was just an incredible marker, milestone, breakthrough. History in the medical system that I've walked through lanes is just incredible. And every one of us is today walking through those type of lanes because I told you everything that comes from your past, whether good, bad, confusing, what have you, eventually answers will unravel. Eventually, you're going to see how that relates to this, how where you're standing today has come because of everything. We are all climbing a mountain, right? If this is just our life, the whole thing is to find that North Star, hit it up at the top and land into some beautiful paradise or wherever we're headed, right? Nobody ever says, hey, we're walking downstream, we're going down that way into the darkness, into the mud. No, that's not what they say. We're reaching for that star. We're looking for that sunlight. We're looking for that. And so with that, that's why I say that today in this conversation, nourishing where you are, because we still have so much to learn about hormones. And again, there's just so many breakthroughs that I'm excited about talking to you about this. But right now, it's all about that nourishing, because we still are not doing that well. And because of those things, it really has it douses out our lifestyle. It douses out our energy. And, we have to stop pretending that our body is upgrading itself, because it's not by itself. There's signals that we are ignoring them, and to build a lifestyle that carries you into that next chapter. I mean, just as you're going through your 20s, you're developing suddenly, you're starting to look good, and all these things are happening, and you got that career now, and you're working, and you have to learn how to do all these things. So you prepare and you do it, and you do all those things on the cover of the life. But what I'm taking you down is under the cover, under what we're carrying, how you prepare for that, because that is what will come through. That is how you're going to walk into the world of all your hormone shifts and fluctuations with a pathway of hope, with harmony. Because as I teach you and you learn this, and if you can take it and understand it and really catch what I'm trying to say to you in this preparedness, because we're all under so much stress. And I know that, the words were out there a long time ago in 1970s, and we just didn't get it. We didn't get any of this. But if we don't get it today, because our life has expanded into a longevity trail of possibly 100 years old, this is why that young girl who brings you into your life and career is got to be under that nourishing foundation, so that woman who wants to develop and evolve out of that will be standing and ready to join her life when the segment of working is over with, where you have to really balance on your own, because you are no longer getting paid every 2 weeks. You are no longer seeing all these things. And what's even crazier is the madness and the craziness that starts to stop. All of a sudden, you're not being chased anymore. You don't have to run here, you don't have to do that. And because when you come into retirement, these things should all come into a little more balance, right? And yes, unfortunately for the women who, leave their careers early to step down to do home care for their for their parents and things like that, we're talking about a different world. And eventually we will get into that one. But for right now, it's the women in the workplace that we're talking about, and nourishing where you're at and understanding how the hormones, are such an orchestra in our body. And if we don't play the symphony, if we don't lead them and nourish them, how they can, lose their energy. Because this is what happens to us, right? We again are not upgrading in our lives. We are actually, the truth of our operating systems is wearing and changing. Eventually we're going to get into the conversation of hormone therapy, but being a young person having those hormone therapies is going to be totally different from a woman in her 60s who has hormone therapies, because the cellular health and lifestyle isn't in the body anymore. So it takes a whole different string of quartets to sing on that rhythm of that life. And that's what I mean. We don't see that these shifts are really taking place. Pro-aging, it's not a slogan, it's a practice. We cultivate it. We bring ourselves to it, how we really want to see us. And however beautiful you look today or whatever, and if you want to carry that out, there's those structures that we listen to. My first ones I want to talk about, and here I am reading another little segment of my book, because again, as I told you, women, we never heard any of this stuff. And if you don't have any daughters or anybody that you're going to read this to, you'll never really understand these foundations. So, here's a little story I was writing to my dear young friend. As you journey through life, remember that you're like a budding flower, full of potential, growth, and beauty. Remember, knowledge is indeed a lifeline. And by nourishing yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally, you can navigate this transformation. Time with confidence and grace. And here are some thoughts to guide you. So, self-nourishment, just as plants need sunlight, right? Water, nutrients, your mind, body thrive on positive input to grow. Your body has its own team of helpers to help to keep you healthy and happy. So I want to meet your 6 doctors, right? And these are just the natural doctors. This is your sunlight, a daily dose of sunlight, like a magic boost for your bones and your mood. Water, you all know, and that water, that moisture. Yeah, I really enjoy sweating. I mean, I know that that sounds dumb, but when the heat rises out here where I live in the desert, it's not something that it just, I mean, sure, it gets hot and it's overwhelming, but I grew up without air conditioning in a lot of humidity in the big cities. So this dry heat is just, I don't know, it's like a hugging thing for me. I mean, I know a lot of people, they're so, hot and they need the cold. And for me, I like to go step outside and be out there instead of in the air conditioning. That's just who I am. But that drinking the water, what I'm saying is about that sweat, the moisture that builds up and all that stuff that comes under the skin and comes out is just like incredible for your skin. So, drinking water keeps your body strong, your skin glowing, and your energy up. Rest. Sleep is your body's recharge time, right? How come I was driving through a parking lot the other day and I'm looking at all these cars that are plugged into their stations for, their little hybrid lives to get their little power up while they're in the casinos or what have you. And I was just like, so, why don't we understand that how the sleep does recharge us? I mean, that's where the doctors of the body go to work. That's where it all comes together. And so important for feeling your best. And I know that there's a lot of trouble sleeping, but there's a lot of reasons and root causes to that. It's not just really that I just can't sleep or this kept me up. It's things that are happening and lifestyles of choice and things that you're doing that really have a bigger effect. Because I was just talking to somebody, and when you really want something, and it's important for the process of whatever the goal is for your life, you're going to do it, right? You're going to find that sleep. And why Sleeping Beauty, I mean, they didn't call her ugly or anything, right? She was sleeping and she was beautiful. And she even became more beautiful because when she woke up, she had love, right? So that was crazy. But uh, air, fresh air, deep breaths, they help your body feel calm, energized. Breathing exercises, and this is that part about the mindset that I'm, really want to get into because of the nourishment. And I told you we're in the age of mind and body. Before it was just always body, mind tagged along, right, like a partner. But today, that whole process needs to be involved, mind and body. So breathing exercises, learn how to do deep belly breathing. There are other ways to exercise your breathing. This technique helps to calm and promote relaxation just by sitting there. But as I said in the last episode, is that sometimes it could be 3 minutes that you're sitting there. And if you're not used to this meditation lifestyle and zoning in and throwing everything out so that you can hear you, it takes practice, and it could be a minute a day. But next time it'll be more and more, and eventually you'll be seeing yourself just really sitting there and be in amazement that, wow, because it's just a crazy place to be when you could hear so much more in your mind with the silence, because that's why they say silence is golden, right? There are other ways to exercise your breathing. This technique helps to calm and promote your relaxation. Exercise. This is like a superhero for the body and mind. And I love the cognitive and physical togetherness. We're going to get into that because I have so much to do with that. In the future, it's going to be great. It helps you grow stronger, manage stress, and feel good about yourself. Moving, dancing, or playing makes your body strong and your mind happy. Now, we all know that, because we are overloaded on daily chores, adult aftercare, things that we have to do, childcare, besides the workplace, it's so hard to find this moment of time to give. But if you give up those 5 minutes of that phone that you're on tonight, instead of sitting there with that light bright in your face, thinking and making your mind react like you're in daytime, instead of letting it get ready to wind down and go to sleep, those are the times if you could just put it down and just try to practice, because you're making contact with something bigger than you, and everything in our minds is everything that controls how we want to be. Because remember, I told you, the thought is where that dream starts to build from. It's all in the thought. But if it's all crowded, so much traffic building up, you can't hear yourself. There's no thought, and the one that you did have when you started out in this life dreaming, because every little girl has a dream, every young man has a dream, and they just get pushed aside. But the true life of an adult is having the child side in them. If you can still see a little boy and the man you're married to, you have such a heartfelt relationship. And you can still feel the little girl inside you. I mean, I love coloring. I love doing these things. I love drawing. I like to jump rope. I like to do those things that really helped me develop, and I didn't even know it, right? Hopscotch is my next one. But, because it's all power of the body, space and spatial contact. And we don't have that anymore with our little future young computer whizzes and kids that are on the phone all the time. They're losing that. But again, becoming that child in yourself. This is why God, our Father, is our Father. And this is why He wants you to come as that little girl. He wants you to come to Him because He is our Father. And even people, if you've never had a father, you have a father. And even if you don't know how to approach a father because you've never had one, it's just talking. It's just joining in. And eventually that big heart is going to light up that little heart in you, because it's going to pull you in like a golden thread, a lasso. And that heartfelt moment will happen, and you're going to have so much fun running to your father. And sometimes when I'm talking to God, and sometimes, I kind of feel like, okay, in my reflections is why I share this with you, because I live in my spirit a lot. And sometimes I'll call up his mother and ask her to help me out because he's not listening, or maybe he's busy, so you really have to look at this as, again, the invisible system, right? Because this is in your mind, and this is your creation, and this is your dollhouse of life if you're a doll, right? And if you're a male, well, this is your man cave of life that you go and call your father. And even again, if you've never gotten along with him, you've never known him, this door is open to everybody, and we all can know him, and he will be your father forever because he is. But if you don't stop by and check in, how's he going to know who you are? You're his child, and he put us out here. And as parents, it is up to us to bring us back to that. Even if, we're going to our Catholic schools, whatever schools we're going to learn about our spirit, we may drift away. Like I said, we hold our parents' hand for a while and then we let go, right? But what happens when we get in trouble? We run back. We come looking for them, and that's the same thing. And he doesn't care how many times you come looking for him, as long as you come looking for God, because he's got it all. And he knows exactly. He knows. He knew you were going to get in that trouble, what he was hoping, and, craving the fact that you'd come back to him for the help, because that's just like triumph, joy. I mean, angels start singing. It's just a beautiful thing and place to be. So let's go into nutrition. Hydrate your body. Drink water, eat nourishing foods, get enough rest. You're a precious garden. Tend to yourself. Right now, I'm actually raising a lemon tree, and I didn't know, because they like sun. They like a lot of sun, and they don't like to have a lot of water. You water them, but they don't like to really live in soaked water. So I didn't know we were having a high temperatures here, like out of control temperatures, right? And I had it out there, and all of a sudden the leaves, they were raising up to the sky, and all of a sudden I started seeing them droop down, and I was like, uh-oh, something's happening here. So I looked up and found out that my little plant was really getting overheated. And, luckily I saved her in time, brought her into the shade, and didn't nourish her with any water or anything. I wanted her to really, finish choking because she was having a hard time out there. Anyway, so now, the next day you should see all the leaf popped up and everything. And so the relationship began. I love talking to plants, and, I hate when I see dead plants on people's desks and stuff like that, because they killed it. They killed it with the atmosphere, with the conversation. They never gave it the loneliness. They left it alone, forgot to water it, all those things. I mean, it's important when you have plants, because they want to oxygenate you, right? They want to bring you this beauty from earth, and then we let it out. So I'm big on rescuing plants. I even sometimes when I come and I see that, I'll ask them, hey, do you really want that plant? And I'll bring it home and, like to help it grow back, because, I actually just started my little hope garden, and it was funny because they were all rescue plants. Certain grocery stores around here, they have a little basket and they put plants that are on their way out in there. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Anyway, so I was looking at them and thanking them because they really developed. They're growing. And, I don't have a green thumb for a fresh plant, which is crazy. But those, it's, I don't know, maybe it's because I want to talk to them. I don't know. But, feed your mind with uplifting thoughts. That's part of the nutrition. Read empowering quotes. Journal. Promote a gratitude list. Just even if you don't know what to talk about in a journal, just write your inspiring stories, something that happened to you, even if it was one word, felt great today, what have you, just to start the conversation in a book about you to yourself is really a louder voice that goes out. You just don't hear it, but it's being heard for sure. So, about self-love, self-care, surround yourself with people who uplift you, right? Positive mindsets. Life can sometimes feel like a storm, but rain helps flowers grow. Isn't that funny? Because that's the tears. Sometimes, we are broken. The world is broken, and there's a lot of tears happening, but honestly, each tear is actually being collected, and each tear is actually watering part of your foundation, because that foundation is the grounds where you're starting out at, right? And those tears, because we go through heartbreak. When we're climbing that mountain, we're going to go through some passages that are so tough, and we've never camped out on that kind of lane, right? So we cry, right? But actually, you're just watering. You're watering the next season, and those tears will turn into joy later. But moment, that pain that we have to go through is what's developing us in our character and the things that we're going through. And no, it's never easy. None of this stuff that I say is easy. But what I want to bring to you is that nourishment, because sometimes, those hormonal imposters can really mess us up and take us from anxiety down to depression. And if we can keep that mindset growing and glowing, it's hard for that foundation to fall into the mud, into the quicksand, and get sucked in when you can't move and you're stuck, because you have a father to run to, for one thing, that's going to pull you out and knows where you're at. So I always know that. So positive mindset challenges make you stronger. When the world seems against you, find the silver lining, look for lessons in adversity, and keep your chin up. Your mind is a powerful tool. Fill it with affirmations, dreams, and hopes, and believe in your own magic, because it is. You've got power. And hormonal changes. The hormones, the little chemistries inside you, they're like an orchestra conductor creating a beautiful, sometimes chaotic music, but embrace the change. Your body is a canvas, and earth, and each ship is part of your unique masterpiece. You see, there's just so much that we didn't know. Now, if we learned all that through this book, you can't even see it. Oops, girl in the red. Your hormones are showing. You don't know how happy I am when I see these things, because trust me, this book came from thoughts, dreams, and inspiration. It wasn't just because I just thought, oh, I'm going to write a book for a menstrual cycle. No, I wrote it because of what I seen, what I went through, what I didn't know, what my friends didn't know, how do girls get together, young girls, and we're all getting together and we're talking about this, but we don't have real answers. We can only share the experience. And when we come into our lives and we really find ourselves, that's what we get to do. And that's why every person has a story to tell. Every person. We just have a story to tell. And it's like an incredible story. So I really want you to get a grip of that. We are eventually going to, going into the pro-aging, again, it's not a slogan. It just tells us that we are no longer, as they called us, those old people or what have you. Again, when you look at old movies and stuff like that and you see how this was treated, it's funny. They really kind of eliminated you once you hit a certain age in the movie. It's crazy to see that. But there's a point in a woman's life when her biology stops being invisible. Not because she's getting older, but because the system she's been running for decades are finally showing their wear. And I'm looking forward to telling you all about that, about pro-aging, getting that nourishment, understanding hormonal imposters with that birth control pill that people are on still. Sometimes we've been put on it young, but they're carrying it through, and I've seen it. And I am so happy to have science to bring to this, because there's so much more growing out of this beautiful tree of hormones that we're all rising up from, and the plants are just blooming on this subject, and I'm part of it, and I'm just loving it. So everyone, have a great week, and looking forward to our next episode. Lisa Vasquez here from Liberating Menopause on prconnectionsradio.com. Take care.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.